Apologies again. Slight confusion. Sorry, Councillor Bick, I'll bring you back in just a moment. Now, before I do, Peter, would you like to introduce this report for us? You spoke for so long, I thought you had. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few words. So the Milton Road project aims to greatly improve access for pedestrians, cyclists, and public transport along its length. Milton Road is strategically important, provides a link with the city centre, Cambridge Science Park and North East Cambridge, and it also connects directly with the existing guided busway. So the Executive Board approved the final design in March 2019, and bar a few changes as a result of comments from the local liaison forum around bus stop location and a slight short section of change to the cycleway on the approach to Westbrook Drive. The package remains consistent with the approved design. So the proposals before you today are outlined in terms of the recommendations around the construction and traffic management plan, the awarding of the contract to Milestone under the Cambridgeshire County Council's Highway Services Framework, and that in part that reflects the successful delivery of the Histon Road scheme. And then finally, Chair, an increase in budget requirement from 23.04 million to 24 million. And that reflects the inflationary pressures that we're seeing across the economy at the moment. I'll happily try and answer any questions the board may have, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Okay, Councillor Bick, this is now on you, I hope, if nobody sabotages us again.
I'll do it quickly so that reduce the chances. So the Assembly heard a number of quite detailed points in relation to the construction plan and the traffic management plan that goes with it. The officers listened to those, have noted those. We will be noting them in our minutes. And I don't think there is value in me trying to rehearse those in front of you again today, because I think there needs to be a level of trust that officers will look into and do what they have said they would do. So the Assembly collectively did not raise objections to the recommendations in front of you, but they did raise 2 points which I think are worthy of sort of collective note and passing to you. One was the point that Councillor Scott has spoken on in relation to residence parking schemes, where I think we were concerned as a body that the need for schemes in this area is going to be aggravated by the construction and the arrival of the scheme. And so we want to underline the concerns that have been raised by Councillor Scott and invite the Executive Board to satisfy itself that everything that should be done is going to be done about the relationship between those residence parking schemes and the construction plan. And secondly, the general point that obviously the nature of the construction plan is that there is going to be some impeded progress through the different directions of Milton Road as this scheme unfolds, and that the members are interested to know if there could be a special effort, maybe special measures to encourage more use of the park and ride scheme during the course of this, so that we actually get more people where they want to go in fewer vehicles and therefore reduce the congestion. Of course, that's a sort of in microcosm what we're trying to do in the big picture of the whole of Greater Cambridge, but it is kind of does come to a head rather when you look at the process that's going to be embarked on. So would be interested to hear the board react and pick up those 2 points, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Councillor Bick. That leads us on to us. Do we have any questions or points from the board? She looks around. Yes, Neil.
I have just one question for Peter, if he's still there. So in 6.8, we talk about the budget estimate and the increase. We make reference to a target cost estimate for construction. Peter, could you explain what that means under the contract, and you know, whether there are any residual risks associated with that number?
There's always a residual risk when you enter a contract of this nature, when you're digging down, particularly the movement of utilities and things within this contract, a contract of this nature. But the estimate, the 23 million, was provided in 2019. What we've been able to do now is revise all our elements of that following the use of Milestone as an early contractor involvement in the scheme. We've also been through in detail now with each of the utilities, water, telecoms and the like, in terms of finalising their costs. So I am content that 24 million will be the top of the envelope in terms of the final cost of the scheme.
Thank you, Peter. Are there any more questions for Peter or for anyone? In which case, if I may, I'll just make a few remarks, as you might expect me to. This is in my patch. I have lived and breathed this project for quite a long time now. And I'm utterly delighted that we're here. I am delighted that we're finally going ahead. It's been a long time coming, and as people have done before me, I would like to thank everyone, the residents and councillors, who have given us the input that has allowed us to get to where we are. Jocelyn will remember the two of us sat in hustings with the Milton Road Residents Associations in 2017. And I have, you know, I joined the LLF after I was elected to the county council, and I've very much been a part of this for quite a long time. I appreciate there is some anxiety and nervousness from the residents, which is understandable given that we're getting to the point of starting to build. But I assure you that we will keep all channels of communications open and monitored, and we will act on feedback as swiftly as possible. As you heard from Peter, we will sort out signage, and we will be coming back to fine-tune the loading bands and the Verge parking TRO in due course. I think I was the one giving the assurance back in 2018 or 2019, I think, that we would have double yellow lines along the entirety of the road as a result of this scheme. We have begun work to introduce residence parking in the area, as Jocelyn has explained, and Milestone will be required to ensure segregation and safety for pedestrians and cyclists throughout construction. The traffic management plan is not, it cannot be fixed at this point, and if significant issues are reported with the provision that has been made, these will be addressed promptly. We can't, and it would be unrealistic to expect to eliminate all problem areas before we begin work. We already know some places will present challenges in terms of junction management and traffic displacement. There is a period of disruption ahead, and we will do everything we possibly can to assist residents and businesses through it. And a key driver behind this project and the Histon Road project has been the enhancement of bus provision. It's extremely important that we do this. By providing those crucial bus lanes and those links to the off-road busway, we will make bus transport more efficient and more attractive, and this will take cars off the road, which is ultimately beneficial to the safety of cyclists and pedestrians. I would like to thank everyone for their patience and their help with this, and I look forward to a much, much better place to live, work, cycle, walk, and move in a couple of years' time. Thank you. That means that have we got any more remarks before we move on to the recommendations? I will remind us that we have been asked to approve the construction and traffic management plan, which is again a living document, but we've got to start somewhere. We have to approve the award of the construction contract to Milestone under the terms of the county's highways service framework. And we have to approve the increased budget of 24 million for the Milton Road project. Are we okay to approve those? I will take those as agreed. Thank you everyone for your contributions. We are now moving on to item number 10, which is the quarterly progress report. There's some movement, but I think that's fine. For which we don't have any questions, I don't think, in which case we will start with Niamh introducing that to us. Please, thank you, Niamh. Please, I'm so sorry, take your time.
Apologies, Chair.
No, take your time, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So just first, just to introduce my colleague Tom Kelly, sitting over there. Tom is Director of Resources at the County Council and here to represent CCC as the GCP's accountable body, specifically around the multi-year budget that we're asking you to approve. So as ever, Chair, this report captures progress across the whole programme. But this time sets out two specific recommendations. The first is, as I said, around the multi-year budget strategy. Members will see your programme continues to be over-programmed and we continue to refine the budgeting process for each scheme as we kind of move ever more quickly into kind of significant period of delivery. The over-programming, as we've discussed before, is consistent with how you would expect to sort of manage a programme of this scale. The second recommendation is around delegating authority to the Transport Director to appoint a land agent to represent the GCP programme across all schemes. So this is really a bit of housekeeping, but just important that we're transparent about the proposed arrangements. And just to reassure members, these have been agreed with County Council legal support and indeed with Tom and his team. So I can pause there, Chair, and happy to take any comments or questions that members might have.
Thank you very much for that, Niamh, and thank you, Tom, for being here. It's lovely to see you. My lives do blur together very much. Right, so that brings us to Councillor Bick. Did we have anything from the Assembly about this?
Chair, a number of points were raised by the Assembly on this and were answered in our meeting, so they're recorded here, and I don't think there's any need for me to give you commentary on that. It was also raised the request for some scrutiny to be possible of the over-budgeting strategy that Niamh has just described, and a request that there should be a report which enables us to understand the risks associated with that, because we are a body which, unless we or someone else decides otherwise, has a limited life, and our funding also goes with that. So at about the halfway stage, it does seem appropriate to keep an eye on how we see this all finishing up. Otherwise, we may have casualties amongst our schemes, which may not be the ones we want to be casualties. And it does seem sensible that we understand what I'm sure officers are managing to their satisfaction behind the scenes really well, but it does seem an issue of some significance to all that we're doing, that we satisfy ourselves as the representatives of the public in this, that it's all going to come good, or at least the risks are manageable. And I'm pleased to see that the report at 2.6 accepts that a report like that will be brought. A little bit concerned it just says at the appropriate time, because the issue really was before the risks actually are occurring, so that we understand in advance. So pleased about that, and those were our comments. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Very useful indeed. Do we have any comments or questions from the board, please? Anyone? Hello.
I was just going to comment on the SMART programme, of which is now ably chaired by Mr Adams, and I sit on that as well. And just know there's a strong link between that work stream and the city access and even road hierarchies in terms of sensors and things. I want to be worth at some point, if I have to look at our forward agenda, possibly not June or September because they're quite big ones, but perhaps in December we bring something to the Assembly and Board on how the SMART programme interfaces with those other programmes, because I think there was a link changing behaviours, use of sensors would be a useful topic, I think, for a broader discussion than just within our work stream, Mr. Adams, I would suggest. Yeah, but probably towards the end of the year.
Thank you, Andy. Shall I take the other Andy before somebody responds? Oh, sorry.
So just through the chair, I absolutely support the proposal.
Thank you very much. Is there another Andy that would like to speak?
So I was just picking up on Councillor Bick's comment about risk, and again, apologies, this may be coming elsewhere, but is there a formal risk register for the GCP programme anywhere? And if so, when is it reviewed?
Niamh, would you like to answer those points? Thank you.
Yep, thanks for the question. So there's a range of risk registers. There's a kind of transport-specific risk register. There's which includes a kind of programme-wide look. There is a risk register for each of our schemes, and there is a strategic risk register which kind of sits on top of that. They get reviewed regularly, kind of quarterly. In fact, Peter will tell me otherwise, but I suspect the project risk registers are reviewed rather more regularly than those.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we should say at this point? Do please shout if there is. We are being recommended to endorse the multi-year budget strategy, which Niamh has outlined, including the budgets for 22-23, which I am assured is of high interest to Tom, who's here with us today. We are also being asked to delegate authority to the Director of Transport, which is Peter, I think, to appoint a land agent to represent the GCP programme as set out in section 5.6 of this report. Are we all happy with this? I will take that as unanimous. Thank you. It being the last item for decision, I will do this again. So exciting. Thank you very much for all of your contributions. I am being asked to note before we close the meeting that the Executive Board will meet again at 4 p.m. on Thursday, the 30th of June. Thanks everyone for coming, and enjoy the rest of your evening.